Well, good afternoon, Kurt. Welcome to the Manufacturing Transformed podcast. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I've been actually wanting to interview you for a long time, and I love the story of kind of how our companies got connected and what you've done sort of with ProShop since. So I'd love for you to start by introducing yourself to the audience, tell a little about your background and Kajan Perfection and what the company looks like today.
Okay, so I'm Kurt Boquet. I am a 1/3 owner of Kajan Perfection Machine Shop in Houma, Louisiana. We started back in 1980. I think I was 12 or 13 at the time. My two brothers, Matt and Kent, started it with my father, Julius. Probably the worst time to start a machine shop, interest rates and the oil and gas industry being in such a huge slump back then. But we've persevered and made it through the first decade, strictly a manual job shop with 2 or 3 Mazak manual lathes, which they no longer produce, and a lagoon mill. And we purchased our first CNC machine in 1991, and
What was that?
It was a Mazak M5. That specific machine purchased to recut threads on all fluid pipe that go downhole, and we've been expanding on that ever since. I was the slower of the machinists, so I got put on that machine, and that was kind of my forte, I guess you could say, and I just took off with that. And we just persevered several hurricanes later, and that's the most recent being Hurricane Ida, which was 2 or 3 years ago. That was probably the worst one in modern history to pass through this area. But
I remember talking with you about that one as it was coming through, and as we can get into more of that. Wow, that's not something that most shops need to deal with, and you've done several.
Yeah, we've been searching for a good contingency plan in the event this happens again. But the power demand is so great for a machine shop, it makes it a challenge. So we're still kind of fine tuning those little details.
Yeah. Wow. So what does the company look like today?
We're at about
number of machines or people, or
we're at 8 work centers, 25 people. At our peak in 2014, we had almost 50 people, but we've downsized since then because of the back-to-back downturns that we experienced, the hurricane being one of them.
God, that's tough. So how did you come to looking for a different ERP system? I know you were using a different one for some number of years, and if you tell a little bit of that story, hear it.
Yeah. Well, while sitting here waiting for this to start, I was reviewing some of the topics that were going to be discussed, and when you hit on that one, I started to think back what we had. And in the early days, we had a custom built one in Lotus. I think that's what it was called. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty old. And then we went to a different one called RealTrack, and then Estitrack, and now ProShop. I'll never forget the conversation that led me to you guys was during one of the downturns that I mentioned. I was on the phone with our accountant, basically just complaining why am I not getting what I need from this program? And I guess he got frustrated with me, and he told me to find something else because he didn't have the answers that I was asking for. So the next day I went home and spent the day at home, and that's the first time I spoke to you at my little office on our kitchen counter with my little laptop, looking for alternatives.
Yeah, right. And what was it that you weren't getting out of the old system?
The very basic projections. Job costing was a big big thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember all of the details. I remember the conversation, but
Right.
that led to a list of what I wanted in a new system, which then led to me doing the research online. He referred me to Capterra, and you guys are ranked pretty high up there in Capterra.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing led to the next.
Right.
It's I think it's the cumbersomeness, and I don't know if it's the software or if it's just that it's server based of the previous program being so labor intensive to manage.
Right. So things like if you want to know if you're making money on a job, or did you spend too much in labor or materials, or if something wasn't in alignment, that was not an easy process.
Yes, it was doable, but it was very, very labor intensive. And
so because it was so labor intensive, did you sometimes not do it because you just didn't have the time to go through all the steps to get some numbers out?
Often, I'd say most times we didn't. I mean, you would have to hire another person just to do that, which it probably is still worth it. But if you don't have to hire the other person and still get it done, so much the better.
Yeah. No, I know job costing is such a fundamentally critical thing for a shop to know how to quote, how to price their work, even to know what work they're actually good at and go seek more of that so you can have good, profitable work flowing through the shop. So you found us. I clearly was a good enough salesperson that I sold you on ProShop. That was back when I was doing sales. I no longer do sales. But what was the process then like to train and onboard and do you remember some of those times?
Yes, but I'd like to say first, it's good to see that you're advancing with the company yourself.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's I think so. What I should know this off my head. What year did you come on with us?
That was, I think we're going on 3 years now. So 21.
Okay. 21. Yeah. We were probably a third the size that we are today or something like that. So
it's impressive.
We have good people doing those things that I actually wasn't quite as good at. So, but I was good enough to hook you. So how was the process to train and onboard? And if you remember who you worked with, what that was like?
That was, it was you and Brian. We had several meetings with you guys, but then when we finally got on board, it was Michael.
Michael Hegwood, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I still communicate with him every once in a while. It was
such a
slow.
good guy.
It was. It's interesting. I think the older the person, the harder head they have. So the older folks was a little harder to get on board. The younger ones, they gobble this technology up so fast and they take to it so fast. So I would say the first year was you have to do it like this, not like that, and that sort of thing. But now it's pretty well integrated. It's not 100%, but it's close to being pretty seamless from start to finish.
Got it. And how many, like, what's the demographic of your shop? How many younger folks? How many older folks?
There's not many of us left. So if we're at 25, 3 or 4 of us are 45 to 55. The rest are 20s and 30s. And that's, that's
awesome.
We are targeting that age group, the younger guys and girls, with Facebook ads and whatnot. And we're really promoting ProShop and other technologies that we have on board to attract the younger generations. We're advertising that we'll train you but you have to be willing to put in the effort and have the common sense and the work ethic to do it. And it's paying off. It's part of the expense, but again, the technology within ProShop and other things we have going on there is it's attractive to these younger people that don't want to go to college.
Yeah, and I know, I just saw a recent Gartner survey, and employment is the number one thing that almost every shop is dealing with these days. So I applaud you for going after it with advertising to potential employees, not just advertising to customers, because that's a shift that a lot of companies are making, because it's so hard to find folks these days.
It is. Fortunately for us, we're only about a mile or two from a local high school. So these kids are passing in front of our business every day. I think we could do a better job at putting the Kajan Perfection name on the highway itself, instead of just relying on face, because they don't really know what we are yet. So there's still some physical on the grounds work to do. But again, like I said, just about all of our advertising, somewhere in there is a ProShop logo or powered by ProShop or something to that effect, because it draws them in.
I think I saw that on one of your, social posts or something, that you, even maybe on your building, is our ProShop.
It's on the
right
building.
On there.
We distribute some insulated mugs to our customers, and it's on there, and a lot of our business cards, and it's mainly not for the customers, but to engage these younger people that would be interested in either machine work, inspection, or whatnot, as opposed to going to college.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'd love to talk about some of your strategies, because I'm sure people listening could use some ideas on how to appeal to young people. But going back again, so do you remember how long it was before you were kind of live and had stopped using your old system and were now kind of running jobs in ProShop?
That was because of the lack of immediate buy-in across the board. It took a little longer than what I liked. If I had to do it again, I would set a deadline company-wide. Like it or not, this is when we're going live. And I didn't do that. So different modules came on board at different times, I think I would say. And then when we finally cut the cord, there was some panic, how are we going to do it and whatnot, but we did fine. I was concerned too, but it wasn't really that big a deal, other than I should have just set a deadline. This is it, like it or not.
Sure. So you bring up a really important topic, and that's change management. And that is a thing that almost no company is great at. So don't feel too bad if you didn't do it as well as you would in hindsight. But you said a little bit of, there was some lack of alignment. Was that between you and your brothers, or just the team members, or where do you think you could have improved that alignment?
It was not amongst my brothers and I. It was, but it was almost totally the older generation, and due to just the fear of change. Being an owner and a manager, and also the ProShop champion, I think that caused problems too. I should have had someone on board that could have taken that responsibility from me, so that it was given the attention that it deserved. Got
it. So kind of spreading the load to the next level of management kind of thing?
Yes. I took it upon myself.
That and buy into it. Right.
I didn't give it the time that it needed. So I think that's what drug it out a little longer too. Got it.
Okay. So once you did pull the plug and started, as scary as that was in concept, and as you started, I guess, onboarding more modules and getting better at the different aspects of the system, what improved? What information was more at your fingertips? Like, did job costing start being much easier? What were some of the other things that you saw as impacts?
And so far as the information goes, everything improved. There's nothing that did not improve. So I can't point to one specific thing. The efficiency of getting the information into the system. If it's cumbersome, you tend to get garbage more than if it's not. So all that
Right.
the quality of the information improved just because of the simplicity, but the information flow, it improved across the board. I can't tell you
Sure.
one area where this improved, but this was the same. No, it's across the board. And
Got it.
just
And
the
this-
interconnectivity of the whole thing.
Right. And so as part of that, the sort of fundamental principle of not having paper travelers and having everything be digital. And so you can't have a disconnect between something that's printed or maybe not, saved again in the future. Or can you describe that a little bit?
Well, there was which I didn't understand it at the time, but there was a fear of not having the paper traveler. And we talked about
Sure,
that.
that's common.
But we discussed that even before ProShop came along. And it was like, oh, God, how are you going to do that? But now, if you're looking back, it's a stupid idea to have the paper traveling through the shop. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it is one of the most common concerns that shops have. They've done it that way for decades. And, it's sort of like a safety blanket. That thing's in your hand and you can look at it and read it, and you don't need to be tech savvy to do that. But we know that there's so many wastes associated with those and so many things that it limits. I would love to talk about job costing for a minute. So obviously job costing comprises of having, what it actually costs, what you're charging for it, how much you're spending in the buckets of, labor, in raw materials, in cutting tools, in outside processes, in overhead. And did that all improve? Was that easier to, see how you did on a job than the old way where it was cumbersome enough that you often didn't do it?
Yes, that improved significantly. I think we could still do a better job, but that's a resource issue. As we, we still need probably to bring on a couple of project managers, but all in all, it's just a click of a mouse, maybe two clicks, and then you can see how you did.
Right.
And see if you went wrong in a certain area or not. There's really no research. It's just a matter of looking at a screen. And then you can see how you're doing on a particular part averaged over the several jobs that you've done instead of or by job. So and what goes hand in hand with that is if we continue to enforce or emphasize the importance of the employees leaving information behind. If they fell short, why did they fall short? Notes.
Yeah.
And
notes in their time tracking.
We even installed a little script on each computer where they can hit two keys and it puts the time and the time and date stamps the note so that we can see who left the note. And instead of typing your name and everything.
Cool idea.
And
that's a cool idea.
It's still, you got to babysit a little bit to make sure they keep leaving the notes because they tend to get a little lax with that. So, but that goes hand in hand with the job costing because it eliminates the person doing it having to do any further research. If we just scrap 5 parts for stupid reasons, you don't have to research it. You already know, and you just move on. So, it's no longer a research issue. It's a matter of resource having dedicating the time to doing it.
Yeah. So were you doing time tracking previously just on paper cards or on using barcode scanners or something?
RealTrack was barcode. EstiTrack was, it was time tracking. I think it was just keying in the numbers though, if I remember correctly.
Okay. But on a computer. So you used to have, so you'd have a couple of computers out in the shop, and people would go to those terminals and put in their time, and then go back to their machine with their paper travelers. Got it.
Yes. Now we have a computer at each work center with 2 monitors, and it just
nice.
They love that. It's well worth the extra.
You've gone to double monitors. I say that all day long. Yeah, the ROI on a second monitor is like a few days.
Yes.
to be able
Absolutely.
to have your print and your inspection plan or your work instructions or whatever. Yeah, that's awesome. And so you're coming back to your employees. So you are having success bringing in straight out of high school or tech college or fairly young folks that where a 4-year degree isn't really what they want to do.
Yes. Now the turnover is a little higher than average because some of them still don't know what they want to do, but we give them a shot if they, and we always welcome them back if they were good workers. And we've been doing that for several years. Well, since before ProShop, and some of them are sticking it out and doing quite well.
That's awesome. So just to, not share too many of your secrets, but so you're doing Facebook ads in your local geographic area that are targeted to people at that age, like 18-year-olds or whatever.
Yes.
And are you guys doing that yourselves, or are you working with a marketing firm? How are you managing?
It's a marketing company. He's actually a local celebrity / marketing company. He's going through some things now, so we kind of backed off of that a little bit, but we're fixing to ramp back up on it.
Okay. Got it.
And he comes out. He does little short clips of. He's a
like social media posts.
Got it. I think he calls it a reel on Facebook, which is, I guess, the equivalent of a TikTok. That sort of stuff.
Sure. Right. So you're doing short form video and putting those are the ads as the short form videos?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Yeah. Every platform has their own word for the short form clips, which I can still barely keep up with myself. So, that's a cool idea. I actually haven't heard of a shop that's doing that in their local area with this express purpose of attracting employees. That's pretty cool.
I know my limitations, and I know I wouldn't be good at it, so I have to outsource that kind of stuff.
That is a really important thing to understand. Absolutely. I'm wondering if you could remember back, once you cut the cord, really kind of flipped over. Do you remember a moment where there was something that you saw was going to improve or was improving? They're like any kind of light bulb moment, like, oh my gosh, this used to be so difficult, and now, it's easier or it's changed, in a real positive way.
What sticks out to me the most, I guess maybe because I was so intimately involved with it with Estitrack, is the way that the documents are saved within the system. The process was so time consuming because you had to create the folder structure, the hierarchy of folders, and every time you saved a document, you had to navigate to the work order you were associating the document with. Whereas with ProShop, you just drag it into the work order, basically. The time savings, I wish we had a means to have tracked that before and after, but it's tenfold, tenfold, doing it this way as opposed to the way we're doing it before. And that might not be the strongest selling point of ProShop, but it's just what sticks out with me, because when you demonstrated to me how easy it was to save a document to a work order, I was floored, because I know how much we were spending before on doing those steps. And then they're prone to mistakes and documents accidentally getting drugged from one folder to another and whatnot. And they just disappear and nobody knew. So that was huge to me. And that might be the simplest thing, but it made a big difference.
Yeah, that is. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, it's an important feature, but it's not ones that we typically lead with. Was that particularly impactful because we're a digital system and everything is accessed through the browser? That I think so. You're really relying on the those digital documents to be in the right spot, presented in the right way.
I think it's the whole digital cloud thing. Now, I know some of your clients. I've spoken to some of them that don't want their documents stored in the cloud as opposed to server. So you have the hybrid system.
Sure. Yeah.
I opted for the simplest method, which was entirely cloud-based, but I also found a way to do a backup of the cloud drive to have a local backup in the event of a catastrophe.
Absolutely.
So we have both, and it's working. It's working great.
Yeah, that's it. I'm glad you brought that up. That's actually still to this day, it's not that common anymore, but it definitely still comes up. Companies that are concerned about the security of their files on the cloud. All the experts in cybersecurity, and even our own team, of course, will argue all day long and demonstrate that files are actually considerably more secure on the cloud than they are on a local file server. But there's still something that's people feel, kind of like getting rid of paper travelers. There's a security about knowing that file is stored on the hard drive on that computer underneath my desk, right?
Yep.
Where that feels safer to them. So definitely important thing to talk about. And especially with all the cybersecurity requirements now. And I don't know if any of them are coming into the oil and gas industry as much as they are into the defense and space and, commercial aerospace markets. But it's becoming a more important topic by the month, every month. So that actually does. Is cybersecurity something that your oil and gas customers ask you about?
No, we've not been asked.
Their data?
We've not been asked about that yet to go beyond anything that what we're doing now, which is not really hyper secure, I guess, but it's pretty much what everybody does at a minimum. So it's not a concern of ours yet. We haven't branched outside of the oil and gas industry yet. So when that time comes, I'm sure there'll be issues that we'll have to address.
Sure. Is that part of the company's plans to expand into other markets?
Yes. Actually, the last two audits, one was an API audit 2 weeks ago and then a customer's audit a week after that. Both of them asked, why are we not diversified outside of the oil field? Because of the ProShop system and our integration to it. This API audit was the first, which I never understood, but the previous audits, they wanted us to prepare for. So print, say 5 work orders, 5 purchase orders and whatnot. And then he would use those and trace the trail. This last it doesn't make sense to me, but this last audit, he didn't want any preparation, which is how I would do it. And we were lagging a little behind in a lot of the ProShop integration prior to that audit. But our quality manager decided enough is enough, and he wants to get it all in one place, and he forced it through. And it they knocked it out the park. He was.
Oh, the audit was easy.
Impressed. Yes. Because everything's there. Nice. You don't have to search for anything. Right. Of course, you know that.
And that's an annual. I do. Yeah, audits are always a fun topic to talk about. Genuinely, is that an annual recertification audit with API?
Yes, but since we were recently certified in October, so this was earlier than the annual. I think he was just in the area, so he's decided to knock it out, or they. Just efficiency on their part.
Got it. And how about that customer audit? How have customers, you're obviously using ProShop to try to sell, the sort of the modern technology to employees. How has that landed with customers of yours?
Our smaller customers they just do a walkthrough just to say they did the audit. The larger ones like Weatherford and Halliburton's and those guys, they really sink their teeth into that stuff. So they're really impressed. Again, for one of our customers, we were barely on their radar. We would quote a job here and there, but when he saw our capabilities and our processes, and how organized we were with the information. He said that we're going to be global on their side within a few weeks.
Oh, that's cool. Congrats.
It was phenomenal just to hear the compliments. Even if it doesn't lead to anything else, it's good to tell the employees how well they're doing. Because it's a team effort. It reflects on the work that everyone's doing because it's all being captured in one place.
So I often like to ask my guests how the impact of ProShop has personally impacted them, whether they can go on vacation more, have less stress, work fewer hours, spend more time, at home with the wife or whatever. Does any of that resonate with you? What would you say to that question? How has it impacted you on a personal level?
Personally, I don't work less, but that's my fault. And my wife would tell you the same thing. ProShop has, so I don't have to focus on making sure the data, the information flow is what it needs to be. I could focus on other things. Mm-hmm. So personally, that's what the stress is always manageable. So there's really no less stress, but it enables me to focus my attention on other things that I should be focused on. Mm. Because now it's so close to being 100% integrated that it's not really a concern anymore like it was before.
Got it. So is that really like working more on your business than in the details, in the trenches of it?
Yes. That's exactly.
And what are the things that you're able to focus on more now? Is it like sales or growth of the company or
sales and growth? I've never really pursued the sales path, but I am starting now and just growing the company, making strategic decisions like where to diversify within the oil and gas industry. With the certifications now is opening so many doors. Do we want, door A or door B? It's just what we want, which then determines what sort of equipment we're going to be looking at. And that's really where I should be focused on anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Does it feel like you have more options than you used to have on, which doors to open and what to pursue?
Yes, we're in a good place now. We're not, our sales are not what they were a few years ago because we had 2 locations, but our options are greater. So one's going to feed on the other.
Right. I didn't know you had 2 locations at one point. Did one of them, was that a consolidation or did you get taken out by a hurricane or what was the story there?
We consolidated one of the many oil field downturns. We had to consolidate.
Oh, I see.
It was just spread too thin.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to ride that wave that it comes, it's big waves, right? There's big highs and there's low lows. I know I've talked to a few companies in the oil field in particular that really are in that cycle.
It's feast and famine. And with the options now, we can a little better mitigate the highs and lows or average them out a little better. And that's my goal, diversifying within the oil field and then seeking opportunities outside. And there's plenty of those. We just have to decide which direction we want to take.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Kurt, if people want to get a hold of you and learn more about Kajan Perfection, how would you recommend they go about doing that?
Email or phone call. I think our website, everything should be on our website, but it's down. The same person that's doing our social media work was working on that, but he had a family issue that came up, so he had to take a little break.
Sorry to hear that. That's tough. And LinkedIn probably is a place. You guys have a company page?
Yes.
Okay. We'll make sure we have all those linked in the show notes. And you want me to share your email in the show notes as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, very good. Well, Kurt, thank you so much for sharing a bit of your journey. I really appreciate it. I when I first saw that post with you had our logo right in the bottom corner of yours, that was the first time I'd ever seen that by any customer, and I was just kind of dumbstruck and grateful that you would be willing to do that and proud of that. So I appreciate the conversation today, and I wish you all the success. If you want to go for those get AS certified or get other ones, of course we're here for you and help you out with those. So best of luck in the future, and thanks again for being on the show today.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Hey buddy, how's it going today?
Oh, good. Yeah, excited to talk to you. I always love catching up with you.
These are fun little catch-ups for sure. So we just did an interview with Kurt Boquet from Kajan Perfection, which is down in Cajun country in Houma, Louisiana. So we know, and we talk about all the time, how the machining business is the hardest business in the world, right? Imagine
so many variables.
Yeah, thousands that have to all come together. Imagine you're dealing with that on a daily basis. Plus you have hurricanes coming through every couple of years, and they have had serious damage and like dealt with extended power outages and extended, not being able to work because of hurricanes. I mean, I'm just like, holy cow, that's just one more level of challenge that I can't imagine. Just the grit to keep working through that.
Yeah.
So super inspiring, just can't, super just mad respect for someone and a team that's willing to do that. So anyway, so this is I don't think I've ever actually heard this from a client. They are so into ProShop and so excited about how it's helping shape them and like their ability to grow into the future. Not only do they have the Powered by ProShop on their business cards, it's on the sign of their building. So it's like Kajan Perfection, Powered by ProShop, right on the building.
Awesome.
I'm pretty sure I don't have any other client that's put our logo on their building. So
what a badge of honor. Wow.
I know, right?
We gotta, that's
and
amazing.
Yeah, and it's on their website, and it's just, and they use it in their ads. So they are using targeted Facebook ads trying to recruit young people in their local region. Isn't that cool?
On Facebook ads. Cool.
Yeah. So they're like getting people out of high school and just around, early 20s that are getting Facebook ads. It's like, come to this manufacturing company. We're high tech. We're paperless. We're doing all cool machines to work on, and it's effective. They're recruiting people that way.
Wow.
So
that is amazing. I have never heard of people going that as an ad route, for a small machine shop, but localized. That's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the fact that they're kind of leaning into the sort of modern, we're not a typical shop. We're modern, we're software driven, we're paperless.
Right.
And, to be super candid, that's been a journey from them. They definitely had some machinists that were, kind of set in their ways and really, not super excited about the paperless thing, but all in all, got pretty good buy-in and good traction and certainly with the younger folks, they pick it up like crazy,
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, but it was a good conversation. Just reinforces for me the challenges that shops go through, whether it's weather related or employee related or whatever. But it's a hard business, and it's an honor to help them through that.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more on the honor part. I mean, getting our logo on their sign is pretty humbling, that's pretty awesome of them. And I think that there's a lot of cyclical nature to the oil and gas business too, it goes up and down. So that's another kind of hardship that I have real respect for too, is that some businesses, or some industries I should say, are particularly fluctuant, and I think probably hurricanes don't help with that.
Yeah, no doubt. So well, that's cool. That's the latest. So
nice. Kajan Perfection. All right. Well, next time I'm down in that part of the world, I should swing by and see them as well.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Take care, buddy. Thanks,
buddy.
Bye-bye.